Tyrion. Chella, daughter of Chek of the Black Ears, had gone ahead to scout, and it was she who brought back word of the army at the crossroads. "By their fires I call 'em 20,000 strong," she said. "The banners are red with a gold lion." "Your father?" Bronn asked. "Or my brother Jaime," Tyrion said. "We shall know soon enough." He surveyed his ragged band of brigands, near 300 Storm Crows, Moon Brothers, Black Ears, and Burn Men, and those just the seed of the army he hoped to grow. Gunther, son of Gurn, was raising the other clans even now. He wondered what his lord father would make of them in their skins and bit of stolen steel. If truth be told, he did not know what to make of them himself. Was he their commander or their captive? Most of the time it seemed to be a little of both. "It might be best if I rode down alone," he suggested. "Best for Tyrion, son of Tywin," said Ulf, who spoke for the Moon Brothers. Shagga glowered, a fearsome sight to see. "Shagga, son of Dolf, likes this not. Shagga will go with the boy man, and if the boy man lies, Shagga will chop off his manhood and feed it to the goats. Yes," Tyrion said warily. "Shagga, I give you my word as a Lannister I shall return." "Why will we trust your word?" Chella was a small, hard woman, flat as a boy, and no fool. "Lowland lords have lied to the clans before." "You wound me, Chella," Tyrion said. "Here I thought we had become such friends. But as you will. You shall ride with me, and Shagga and Con for the Storm Crows, Ulf for the Moon Brothers, and Timett son of Timett for the Burned Men." The clansmen exchanged wary looks as he named them. "The rest shall wait here until I send for you. Try not to kill and maim each other while I'm gone." He put his heels to his horse and trotted off, giving them no choice but to follow or be left behind. Either was fine with him so long as they did not sit down to talk for a day and a night. That was the trouble with the clans. They had an absurd notion that every man's voice should be heard in council, so they argued about everything endlessly. Even their women were allowed to speak. Small wonder it had been hundreds of years since they'd last threatened the Vale with anything beyond an occasional raid. Tyrion meant to change that. Bronn rode with him. Beside them, after a quick bit of grumbling, the 5 clansmen followed on their undersized garrons, scrawny things that looked like ponies and scrambled up rock walls like goats. The Stone Crows rode together, and Chella and Ulf stayed close as well, as the Moon Brothers and Black Ears had strong bonds between them. Timett, son of Timett, rode alone. Every clan in the Mountains of the Moon feared the Burned Men, who mortified their flesh with fire to prove their courage, and, the others said, roasted babies at their feasts. And even the other Burned Men feared Timett, who had put out his own left eye with a white-hot knife when he reached the age of manhood. Tyrion gathered that it was more customary for a boy to burn off a nipple, a finger, or, if he were truly brave or truly mad, an ear. Timett's fellow Burned Men were so awed by his choice of an eye that they promptly named him a Red Hand, which seemed to be some sort of war chief. "I wonder what their king burned off," Tyrion said to Bronn when he heard the tale. Grinning, the sellsword tugged at his crotch, but even Bronn kept a respectful tongue around Timett. If a man was mad enough to put out his own eye, he was unlikely to be gentle with his enemies. Distant watchers peered down from the towers of unmortared stone as the party descended through the foothills, and once Tyrion saw a raven take wing. Where the high road twisted between 2 rocky outcrops, they came to the first strong point. A low earthen wall 4 feet high closed off the road, and a dozen crossbowmen manned the heights. Tyrion halted his followers out of range and rode up to the wall alone. "Who commands here?" he shouted up. The captain was quick to appear, and even quicker to give them an escort when he recognized the Lord's son. They trotted past blackened fields and burned holdfasts, down to the riverlands and the green fork of the Trident. Tyrion saw no bodies, but the air was full of ravens and carrion crows. There had been fighting here, and recently. Half a league from the crossroads, a barricade of sharpened spikes had been erected, manned by pikemen and archers. Behind the line, the camp spread out to the far distance. Thin fingers of smoke rose from hundreds of cook fires. Mailed men sat under trees and honed their blades, and familiar banners fluttered from staffs thrust into the muddy ground. A party of mounted horsemen rode forward to challenge them as they approached the gates. The knight who led them wore silver armour inlaid with amethysts, and a striped purple and silver cloak. His shield bore a unicorn sigil, and a spiral horn 2 feet long jutted up from the brow of his horsehead helm. Tyrion reined up to greet him. "Sir Flement?" Sir Flement Brax lifted his visor. "Tyrion," he said in astonishment. "My lord, we all feared you dead." He looked at the clansmen uncertainly. "These companions of yours?" "Bosom friends and loyal retainers," Tyrion said. "Where shall I find my lord father?" "He has taken the inn at the crossroads for his quarters." Tyrion laughed. The inn at the crossroads. Perhaps the gods were just after all. "I will see him there at once." "As you say, my lord." Sir Flement wheeled his horse about and shouted commands. 3 rows of stakes were pulled from the ground to make a hole in the line. Tyrion led his party through. Lord Tywin's camp spread over leagues. Chella's estimate of 20,000 men could not be far wrong. The common men camped out in the open, but the knights had thrown up tents, and some of the high lords had erected pavilions as large as houses. Tyrion spied the red ox of the Presters, Lord Cracoll's brindled bear, the burning tree of Marbrand, the badger of Lydon. Knights called out to him as he cantered past, and men-at-arms gaped at the clansmen in open astonishment. Shagga was gaping back. Beyond a certainty, he'd never seen so many men, horses, and weapons in all his days. The rest of the mountain brigands did a better job of guarding their faces, but Tyrion had no doubts that they were full as much in awe. Better and better. The more impressed they were with the power of the Lannisters, the easier they would be to command. The inn and its stables were much as he remembered, though little more than tumbled stones and blackened foundations remained where the rest of the village had stood. A gibbet had been erected in the yard, and the body that swung there was covered with ravens. At Tyrion's approach they took to the air, squawking and flapping their black wings. He dismounted and glanced up at what remained of the corpse. The birds had eaten her lips and eyes and most of her cheeks, baring her red-stained teeth in a hideous smile. "A room, a meal, and a flagon of wine was all I asked," he reminded her with a sigh of reproach. Boys emerged hesitantly from the stables to see to their horses. Shagga did not want to give his up. "The lad won't steal your mare," Tyrion assured him. "He only wants to give her some oats and water and brush out her coat." Shagga's coat could have used a good brushing too, but it would have been less than tactful to mention it. "You have my word the horses will not be harmed." Glaring, Shagga let go of the grip on his reins. "This is the horse of Shagga, son of Dolf," he roared at the stable boy. "If he doesn't give her back, chop off his manhood and feed it to the goats," Tyrion promised. "Provided you can find some." A pair of house guards in crimson cloaks and lion-crested helms stood on either side of the door. Tyrion recognized their captain. "My father?" "In the common room, my lord." "My men will want meat and mead," Tyrion told him. "See that they get it." He entered the inn, and there was father. Tywin Lannister, Lord of Casterly Rock and Warden of the West, was in his middle 50s, yet hard as a man of 20. Even seated he was tall, with long legs, broad shoulders, a flat stomach. His thin arms were corded with muscle. When his once thick golden hair had begun to recede, he had commanded his barber to shave his head. Lord Tywin did not believe in half measures. He razored his lip and chin as well, but kept his side whiskers, 2 great thickets of wiry golden hair that covered most of his cheeks from ear to jaw. His eyes were a pale green, flecked with gold. A fool more foolish than most had once insisted that even Lord Tywin's shit was flecked with gold. Some said the man was still alive, deep in the bowels of Casterly Rock. Sir Kevan Lannister, his father's only surviving brother, was sharing a flagon of ale with Lord Tywin when Tyrion entered the common room. His uncle was portly and balding, with a close-cropped yellow beard that followed the line of his massive jaw. Sir Kevan saw him first. "Tyrion!" he said in surprise. "Uncle," Tyrion said, bowing. "And my lord father. What a pleasure to find you here." Lord Tywin did not stir from his chair, but he did give his dwarf son a long, searching look. "I see that the rumours of your demise were unfounded." Sorry to disappoint you, father, Tyrion said. No need to leap up and embrace me. I wouldn't want you to strain yourself. He crossed the room to their table, acutely conscious of the way his stunted legs made him waddle with every step. Whenever his father's eyes were on him, he became uncomfortably aware of all his deformities and shortcomings. Kind of you to go to war for me, he said as he slipped into a chair and helped himself to a cup of his father's ale. By my lights, it was you who started this, Lord Tywin replied. Your brother Jaime would have never meekly submitted to capture at the hands of a woman. That's one way we differ, Jaime and I. He's taller as well, you may have noticed. His father ignored the sally. The honor of our house was at stake. I had no choice but to ride. No man sheds Lannister blood with impunity. Hear me roar, Tyrion said, grinning. The Lannister words. Truth be told, none of my blood was actually shed, though it was a close thing once or twice. Morrick and Jick were killed. I suppose you'll be wanting some new men. Don't trouble yourself, father. I've acquired quite a few of my own. He tried a swallow of the ale. It was brown and yeasty, so thick you almost had to chew on it. Very fine, in truth. A pity his father had hanged the innkeep. How is your war going? His uncle answered. Well enough for the nonce. Sir Edmure has scattered small troops of men along his borders to stop our raiding, and your lord father and I were able to destroy most of them piecemeal before they could regroup. Your brother has been covering himself with glory, his father said. He smashed the Lords Vance and Piper at the Gold Tooth, and met the massed power of the Tullys under the walls of River Run. The Lords of the Trident have been put to rout. Sir Edmure Tully was taken captive, with many of his knights and bannermen. Lord Blackwood led a few survivors back to River Run, where Jaime has them under siege. The rest fled to their own strongholds. Your father and I have been marching on each in turn, Sir Kevin said. With Lord Blackwood gone, Raventree fell at once, and Lady Went yielded Harrenhal for want of men to defend it. Sir Gregor burnt out the Pipers and the Brackens. Leaving you unopposed, Tyrion said. Not wholly, Sir Kevin said. The Mallisters still hold Seagar, and Walder Frey is marshalling his levies at the Twins. No matter, Lord Tywin said. Frey only takes the field when the scent of victory is in the air, and all that he smells now is ruin, and Jason Mallister lacks the strength to fight alone. Once Jaime takes River Run, they will both be quick enough to bend the knee. Unless the Starks and the Aarons come forth to oppose us, this war is as good as won. I would not fret so overmuch about the Aarons if I were you, Tyrion said. The Starks are another matter. Lord Eddard is our hostage, his father said. He will lead no armies while he rots in a dungeon under the Red Keep. No, Sir Kevin agreed. But his son has called the banners and sits at Moat Caitlin with a strong host around him. No sword is strong until it's been tempered, Lord Tywin declared. The Stark boy is a child. No doubt he likes the sound of war horns well enough, and the sight of his banners fluttering in the wind, but in the end it comes down to butcher's work. I doubt he has the stomach for it. Things had gotten interesting while he'd been away, Tyrion reflected. And what is our fearless monarch doing while all this butcher's work is being done? He wondered. How was my lovely and persuasive sister gotten Robert to agree to the imprisonment of his dear friend Ned? Robert Baratheon is dead, his father told him. Your nephew reigns in King's Landing. That did take Tyrion aback. My sister, you mean? He took another gulp of ale. The realm would be a much different place with Cersei ruling in place of her husband. If you have a mind to make yourself of use, I will give you a command, his father said. Mark Piper and Carl Vance are loose in our rear, raiding our lands across the Red Fork. Tyrion made a tisk sound. The gall of them, fighting back. Ordinarily I'd be glad to punish such rudeness, father, but the truth is I have pressing business elsewhere. Do you? Lord Tywin did not seem awed. We also have a pair of Ned Stark's afterthoughts making a nuisance of themselves by harassing my foraging parties. Beric Dondarrion, some young lordling with delusions of valour. He has that fat jape of a priest with him, the one who likes to set his sword on fire. Do you think you might be able to deal with them as you scamper off, without making too much of a botch of it? Tyrion wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and smiled. Father, it warms my heart to think you might entrust me with, 20 men? 50? Are you sure you can spare so many? Well, no matter. If I should come across Thoros and Lord Beric, I shall spank them both. He climbed down from his chair and waddled to the sideboard, where a wheel of veined white cheese sat surrounded by fruit. First, though, I have some promises of my own to keep, he said as he sliced off a wedge. I shall require 3,000 helms and as many hauberks, plus swords, pikes, steel spearheads, maces, battle-axes, gauntlets, gorgets, greaves, breastplates, wagons to carry all this. The door behind him opened with a crash, so violently that Tyrion almost dropped his cheese. Sir Kevin leapt up, swearing, as the captain of the guards went flying across the room to smash against the hearth. As he tumbled down into the cold ashes, his lion helm askew, Shagger snapped the man's sword in two over a knee as thick as a tree trunk, threw down the pieces, and lumbered into the common room. He was preceded by his stench, riper than the cheese and overpowering in the closed space. "Little Redcape," he snarled, "when next you bear steel on Shagger son of Dolph, I will chop off your manhood and roast it in the fire." "Wait, no goats?" Tyrion said, taking a bite of cheese. The other clansmen followed Shagger into the common room, Bronn with them. The sellsword gave Tyrion a rueful shrug. "Who might you be?" Lord Tywin asked, cool as snow. "They followed me home, father," Tyrion explained. "May I keep them? They don't eat much." No one was smiling. "By what right do you savages have to intrude on our councils?" demanded Sir Kevin. "Savages, Lowlander?" Con might have been handsome if you washed him. "We are free men, and free men by rights sit on all war councils." "Which one of you is the Lion Lord?" Chella asked. "They are both old men," announced Timett, son of Timett, who had yet to see his 20th year. Sir Kevin's hand went for his sword hilt, but his brother placed 2 fingers on his wrist and held him fast. Lord Tywin seemed unperturbed. "Tyrion, have you forgotten your courtesies? Kindly acquaint us with our honoured guests." Tyrion licked his fingers. "With pleasure," he said. "The fair maid is Chella, daughter of Chek of the Black Ears." "I'm no maid," Chella protested. "My sons have taken 50 years among 'em." "May they take 50 more." Tyrion waddled away from her. "This is Con, son of Corrit. Shagger, son of Dolph, is the one who looks like Casterly Rock with hair. They are stone crows. Here is Ulf, son of Umar of the Moon Brothers, and here is Timett, son of Timett, a red hand of the Burned Men. And this is Bronn, a sellsword of no particular allegiance. He has already changed sides twice in the short time I've known him. You and he ought to get along famously, father." To Bronn and the clansmen he said, "May I present my lord father, Tywin, son of Tytos of House Lannister, Lord of Casterly Rock, Warden of the West, Shield of Lannisport, and once and future Hand of the King." Lord Tywin rose, dignified and correct. "Even in the West we know the prowess of the warrior clans of the Mountains of the Moon. What brings you down from your strongholds, my lords?" "Horses," said Shagger. "And a promise of silk and steel," said Timett, son of Timett. Tyrion was about to tell his lord father how he proposed to reduce the Vale of Arryn to a smoking wasteland, but he was never given the chance. The door banged open again. The messenger gave Tyrion's clansman a quick, queer look as he dropped to one knee before Lord Tywin. "My lord," he said, "Sir Adam did bid me tell you that the Stark host is moving down the causeway." Lord Tywin Lannister did not smile. Lord Tywin never smiled. But Tyrion had learned to read his father's pleasure all the same, and it was there on his face. "So the wolfling is leaving his den to play amongst the lions," he said in a voice of quiet satisfaction. Splendid. Return to Sir Adam and tell him to fall back. He is not to engage the northerners until we arrive, but I want him to harass their flanks and draw them farther south. It will be as you command. The rider took his leave. We are well situated here, Sir Kevin pointed out, close to the ford and ringed by pits and spikes. If they are coming south, I say let them come and break themselves against us. The boy may hang back or lose his courage when he sees our numbers, Lord Tywin replied. The sooner the Starks are broken, the sooner I shall be free to deal with Stannis Baratheon. Tell the drummers to beat assembly and send word to Jaime that I am marching against Robb Stark. As you will, Sir Kevin said. Tyrion watched with a grim fascination as his Lord Father turned next to the half-wild clansmen. It is said that the men of the mountain clans are warriors without fear. It is said truly, Con of the Storm Crows answered. And the women, Chella added. Ride with me against my enemies, and you shall have all my son promised you, and more, Tywin told them. Would you pay us with your own coin? Ulf, son of Omar, said. Why should we need the father's promise when we have the son's? I said nothing of need, Lord Tywin replied. My words were courtesy, nothing more. You need not join us. The men of the Winterlands are made of iron and ice, and even my boldest knights fear to face them. Oh, deftly done, Tyrion thought, smiling crookedly. The Burn men fear nothing. Timett, son of Timett, will ride with the lions. Wherever the Burn men go, the Stormcrows will have been there first, Orn declared hotly. We ride as well. Shagga, son of Dolf, will chop off their manhoods and feed them to the crows. We will ride with you, Lion Lord, Chella, daughter of Chake, replied. But only if your half-man son goes with us. He bought his breath with promises. Until we hold the steel he pledged us, his life is ours. Lord Tywin turned his gold-flecked eyes on his son. Joy, Tyrion said with a resigned smile.
Oh. We saw where Tyrion gets his wit from.
Most important chapter in the book.
Yes. Well, most important? You really think that's the most important?
We got to meet Papa Lannister. It is
we
the
did
most
meet Papa Lannister.
Important chapter in the book.
Forgot he's supposed to be bald and just have the sideburns.
Yeah, the show really is not that.
I like how they represent him in the show.
I did too. I thought they had the essence of his character down.
Yeah. What's the actor's name?
I thought Charles Dance was
Charles Dance.
Great.
He was. He's kind of how he did such a good job. That's how I picture him now. That's why it kind of caught me off guard. Like, oh yeah, that's not how he looks.
I know. When you read the book description, it's the same thing in my brain. That's what he looks like. And then you get the book description and it's like, he has golden whiskers, he's bald. But
and
he is really
time,
like...
I'm trying to picture Charles Dance bald with just sideburns.
Yeah.
No mustache or chin.
Like no little like beard thing that he has going on. Yeah.
What made him stop? He was getting shaved and was just like, no, this is good. Stop there.
Side whiskers are like a thing. It's like a fashion thing. Look at
and that's fine. I know that's a thing, but being bald too and that.
Well, he was losing his hair.
I know, but
I get it. Why not just
then
go
you
for
just have the face strap. You have it wrap around the back of the head, down the sideburn, and then just have the mustache. You just got the face strap going.
Maybe he felt like it would make him look like a walrus.
I mean, it would, but...
He doesn't want to look like a walrus. He wants to look like a lion.
I guess so. His lion mane on
the side. Yeah. It's like a...
lions have it wrapping around their whole head, so actually that would have worked.
I know, but he'd only have half a mane, because he's losing the hair on the top of his head. So he's just gonna.
The lion's mane wraps around, and just his face, so just grow it out.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be on the top of his head anymore. Plus, he'd have kind of like a weird monk kind of thing. And he says, "I don't take half measures or whatever." He doesn't do
Yeah.
anything half-assed or whatever it is. So, I I don't know. It's a different choice.
It is. It was difficult for me to picture. But anyways, so for as witty and intelligent as Tywin is, it seems that he is doing exactly what Robb Stark wanted him to do. He's
Yes.
moving up on him.
Yes. Yep.
He's getting impatient.
He's going after the young wolf.
Patience is a virtue that he does not have.
Apparently not. Yeah, he very much just seems like he wants this to be over and done with, and does not want it to be kind of a long, drawn-out thing. Which actually is probably the best thing for the people of Westeros. Less people would die.
Well, yeah, that is true, but I'm sure that's not what he's thinking about. He's thinking that this is a young child, not worth my time. Let's go stomp him out real quick so I can go have a real fight with Stannis.
This is true. Yeah, Stannis. Oh yeah, Stannis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Whatever he's doing over on Dragonstone. Apparently he's mounting an army of some sorts, because the Lannisters seem to want to march on him.
For all intents and
Sail
purposes,
on him, I guess.
Tywin isn't exactly wrong for making that assumption, since Stannis' reputation as a battle commander is pretty solid.
Precedes him, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, it kind of very much feels like Tywin and Tyrion are kind of two peas in a pod.
Yes.
They're very much alike. They're very quick-witted and kind of sassy.
A little bit.
They're very sharp-tongued, and
The way Tywin convinces the Stormcrows to fight for him.
And Tyrion's like, "Wow, very clever, Dad. I see what you did there. Good job." Using the whole, well, I would understand if you're not brave enough to fight. They are intimidating. I don't blame you if you're scared.
Go run back to your mountains. Take
Where
whatever
you're
my
safe.
son promised you.
Well, you'll be safe. Boom. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You just question everyone's honor and bravery. And these are men who have repeatedly threatened to chop off people's dicks and feed them to the goats.
He switched it up this time.
I know, he said...
Burn it in the fire.
Yeah, I know.
And then there was another one. What was it? Chop off their manhood and...
do something else with it.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I also like the little details that we get about the Mountain Clan people.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
just like why
How
Timothy is so feared, and he
Because he
burned-
burnt out his eye.
and Chella and all the ears, and
That's gotta suck, though. Come to manhood. Alright, what do you want to burn off?
yeah, right? Like, you gotta burn off something. Okay. I guess I gotta pick.
I'll burn off my hair. Done.
Yeah, and the whole thing where Tyrion's like, "Oh, this is so stupid. All they ever do is argue because they all believe that every man's voice should be heard. That's so dumb."
They even let the women vote. Like, what's up with that?
That's crazy. No wonder they don't get anything done. So funny.
I don't think democracy is gonna hit Westeros anytime soon.
No, feudalism seems to be really going strong,
Yeah.
which sucks. It's not a great system. Kind of crappy.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
At this point, I guess so.
I guess it depends on who's in charge.
That's true.
It's the biggest thing with feudalism. It all depends on the person in charge. Sometimes, if the person in charge knows what they're doing, it can be a great system.
Yeah,
But if you have the Mad King or
what if
Joffrey,
your lord
it
is
may
like,
not work out so well.
if your lord is, say, Papa Lannister, it's probably all right. It's you got a lot. There's a lot of wealth there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If your lord is Ned Stark, it's probably all right because he's a good dude and he's honorable, you know, and he probably tries to keep everything pretty fair. But then, what if your lord is like the Mountain?
Exactly.
He may just walk up to you and kill you one day because he just is like annoyed. That you know, there's the odds are just wild. And we don't know what the Baratheons are like as lords. So they're probably all right. I don't know.
Well, if Robert
Is
is any indication, they're probably okay, but probably not at the same time. You wouldn't have to worry about them coming down and killing you, but they may drink all your alcohol,
Yeah,
and they might not get anything done because they're too drunk.
fair enough. Yeah,
God, if you run a brothel, you're gonna be killing it.
this is true. This is true. But you also have Stannis and Renly, and I'm sure they do things for their for the Stormlands.
You know, I just thought of something. Littlefinger owns so many brothels. The man probably earned back like 90% of the money that he had to loan the kingdom just from Robert going to those brothels.
You mean that they borrowed from the Iron Bank?
Yes.
And instead of paying back the Iron Bank,
Mm-hmm.
he kept it. That's
See?
And it's
Littlefinger knew what he was doing.
but it's
He was
also
like, yes, give the kingdom that much money. Then I will have that much money. Because I know what he's going to do with it.
Here's my thing. They're in so much debt. And Papa Lannister has offered to pay it. They have so much money that he offers to pay that.
Mm-hmm.
And probably still has so much more money left over that he's willing to just, yeah, I'll pay that. You can be in debt to the Lannisters. It's fine. I'll just pay it without the blink of an eye. How much money do the Lannisters have? My God, what is going on at Casterly Rock?
I'm convinced the bowels of Casterly Rock are Gringotts.
There's a dragon in there somewhere.
There's a dragon underneath the castle.
They
They're down.
employ goblins.
Exactly.
It's a big mine down there. Could be Gringotts. We don't know.
It is what will turn into Gringotts.
Someday.
Yes.
It's possible.
This is all a precursor to Harry Potter.
I see.
The children of the forest are gonna come back, and they're gonna be the witches and wizards, and then history will go on, and
Oh, gotcha. And eventually they'll
eventually we'll hit modern day
Hogwarts.
Hogwarts. Yeah.
Ah. Maybe Dumbledore.
Winterfell is Hogwarts. No, that would be
Winterfell.
cold.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yep. I don't think so. Winterfell could be Hogwarts.
Yeah, it could be.
Because it's up kind of where, like, if you look at Westeros, kind of like the UK, it's kind of up in Scotland, where Scotland would be.
That's true.
So it makes sense.
Would that mean the Chamber of Secrets was actually once the Stark's tomb?
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like this was less of a Tyrion chapter and more of a Tywin chapter. 'Cause Tyrion just kind of sat there while everything was going on.
Yeah, and made little comments and thoughts about how clever his father is.
Mm-hmm.
And
For a man Tyrion wants to kill, seems to respect him a little bit.
he does. He hates him so much, yet he's always like, "Oh, that was was clever, that was this. And you kind of see that, wow, you guys are actually quite a lot alike. Just saying. You guys have some things in common. And you kind of just see that Tywin's reputation does precede him. He doesn't smile. He's very serious. He doesn't take anyone's shit. He's kind of rude. A little rude too. You know, his son comes back, could have been kidnapped and everything else, and he basically is just like, "Oh, you're not dead. Great."
Yeah, but we see that with Tyrion.
Yeah.
I think if Jaime came back, it would have been a little bit better.
No, that's what I mean. He's like specifically mean to Tyrion. I think if it was Jaime, yeah, it would have been a little different.
You know who was never mean to Tyrion? The innkeeper. Which kind of comes back to the whole, it's the common people that suffer when the lords wage war.
Yeah, that was a bummer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Masha Huddle or whatever her name was, is hanged. That's a bummer.
Poor innkeep.
Poor innkeep. And what did Tyrion say? She made something that was really. She had the best wine, or she made the best whatever.
The ale.
The ale.
I think it was ale or beer. I think it was ale though.
What did she do to piss off Tywin Lannister?
He probably just showed up. You let my son get kidnapped.
Well,
Was he here when he was kidnapped? Well, yeah, but okay, Hanger.
Yeah, probably.
Probably how it went down.
Knowing Tywin, yeah, that's probably what happened. Or he showed up and was like, "We're going to use this place as our headquarters for our war." But my guests, I have people here, and I need.
Sorry, sir, we're full up.
The rooms are full.
Well, I will empty them then.
And will I get paid? That's it, Hanger. Either way, we're shown time and time again that Tywin Lannister don't play, and he's had enough of Robb Stark, and he's going to come and get him. And Robb Stark is very much like, yes, come and get me. So we're gonna see how that plays out.
And apparently, Tyrion will be leading the charge.
Yay! Makes you wonder.
I mean, we know what a brave and accomplished fighter Tyrion is, so
yes.
This should be easy for him.
Did kill several men with an axe.
It's true.
He hacked at their shins like a house elf. Which begs the question, is Tywin intentionally trying to kill Tyrion?
Not kill him, but I think if that's the side effect of his actions, then I don't think he would be disappointed.
Because he literally just came back. He just freed himself from the clutches.
He needs to find out a way for Tyrion to die and not dishonor the family. So if Tyrion dies in battle, it's honorable.
It is honorable, and House Lannister still has pride.
Exactly.
Oh, the pride of the house.
Hear
the
me
lions. Roar. Hear me roar. And we hear that's their words. Hear me roar.
And who are we going to hear roar next time?
I actually didn't check ahead last time, so let me look. This was fun to hang out with Tyrion. It was so refreshing. We got to hang out with Papa Lannister. It was the highlight of the book. Until the end of the book. So, with that high from such a great chapter and meeting one of my favorite characters, we get to go visit Sansa this time.
I hope she got a strongly written letter from her mother.
Or Robb, and all it says is, "Where the hell is Arya?"
Put Arya on. Talk to Arya.
Where is she? Sansa. So yeah, we'll go hang out with Sansa next time.